Hello, my darling listeners. Today, I want to read something that it's not the best known thing in the world, yet I think it deserves a bit more credit than it gets. Put it bluntly, after the close election between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan wrote a letter to Richard Nixon in which he infamously compared JFK to Karl Marx. Why do I bother reading this letter? It's, well, honestly, it's because it was written by Ronald Reagan. And everybody knows who Ronald Reagan is. I mean, he's not some nobody. He literally later becomes the president of the United States. And, well, if even the future president of the United States was willing to just say such batshit insane things, then honestly, it really does make me wonder where the heck the conservative movement in America as a whole has always kind of been. Like, not even just recently, but just kind of always. Okay, so I am reading a digitized version of it from the New York Times. Alrighty, now let's begin. Walter F. Mondale, the Democratic presidential nominee, has charged that Ronald Reagan, in a 1960 letter to Richard M. Nixon, likened the ideas of John F. Kennedy, Mr. Nixon's opponent in that year's presidential campaign, to those of Karl Marx and Adolf Hitler. Mr. Reagan has responded that the letter did not compare the Kennedy program to Marxism or Hitlerism. Quote, "If you read the letter," he said, "you'll find there's nothing wrong with it." Following is the text of the letter. Dear Mr. Vice President, I know this is presumptuous of me, but I am passing on some thought after viewing the convention here in LA. Somehow the idea persists that someone should put an end to the traditional demonstrations which follow each nomination. True, they once had their place, when their only purpose was to influence the delegates within the convention hall. Now, however, TV has opened a window into convention deliberations, and the quote-unquote demonstration is revealed as a synthetic time waster which only serves to belittle us in what should be one of our finer moments. One has a feeling that the general gratitude would be the reward for anyone who would once and for all declare the demonstration abandoned. Starting with the opening speech and continuing all through the speeches until Kennedy's acceptance speech, I thought the Democrats could pick up some campaign money by selling the collection of addresses as, quote, talks suitable for any patriotic occasion with platitudes and generalities guaranteed, end quote. I do not include Kennedy's acceptance speech because, beneath the generalities, I heard a frightening call to arms. Unfortunately, he is a powerful speaker with an appeal to the emotions. He leaves little doubt that his idea of challenging the new world is one in which the federal government will grow bigger and do more and, of course, spend more. I know there must be some short-sighted people in the Republican Party who will advise that the Republicans should try to out-liberal him. In my opinion, this would be fatal. You were kind enough to invite me to comment on the talk I had given and which you had read. That is why I'm speaking on this subject in more than 38 states to audiences of Democrats and Republicans. Invariably, the reaction is a standing ovation, not for me, but for the views expressed. I am convinced that America is economically conservative, and for that reason, I think someone should force the Democrats to publish the quote-unquote retail price for this great new war of public service they promise. I don't pose as an infallible pundit, but I have a strong feeling that the 20 million non-voters in this country might just be conservatives who have cynically concluded that the two parties offer no choice between them where fiscal stability is concerned. No Republican, no matter how liberal, is going to woo a Democratic vote, but a Republican bucking the giveaway trend might recreate some voters who have been staying home. One last thought. Shouldn't somebody tag Mr. Kennedy's bold new imaginative program with its proper age? Under the tousled boyish haircut is still old Karl Marx, first launched a century ago. There is nothing new in the idea of a government being big brother to us all. Hitler called his state socialism, and way before him it was benevolent monarchy. I apologize for taking so much of your time, but I have such a yearning to hear someone come before us and talk specifics instead of generalities. I'm sure that the American people do not want the government-paid services at any price, and if we collectively can't afford this and that, they'd like to know it before they buy and not after it is entrenched behind another immovable government bureau. You will be very much in my prayers in the days ahead. Sincerely, Ronnie Reagan. And that's where the letter ends. I will reread the paragraph that gets the most attention in this letter. One last thought. Shouldn't someone tag Mr. Kennedy's bold, new, imaginative program with its proper age? Under the tousled, boyish haircut is still old Karl Marx, first launched a century ago. There is nothing new in the idea of a government being big brother to us all. Hitler called his state socialism, and way before him it was benevolent monarchy. You know, even in 1960, you had these schmucks being like, oh yeah, Hitler was really left-wing. Well, I guess it does make sense if you put yourself in the mindset of more government equals socialism. However, I mean, even by that own logic, Ronald Reagan would be a massive socialist because he, massively boosted the state expenditures for the military and other such, defense-related expenses. Truth be told, I have a hard, aside from the obvious line of socialism is when government does more stuff being incorrect, I honestly don't think that most of the people who use that rhetoric necessarily believe it in the way that they think they do. I think they subscribe to the Chief Wiggum school of government.
I thought you said the law was powerless.
It's powerless to help you, not punish you.
Put bluntly, they really don't like it when the government, quote-unquote, helps people through welfare and economic aid, but they do like it when the government uses its massive authority to punish and inflict harm upon others. Yeah, I'll be honest, I do have a difficult time wrapping my head around it. If maybe someone in the audience has been able to wrap their head around it, please explain it to me in the comments. Seriously, I am trying to wrap my head around it. Of course, this does not count regarding, libertarian types who dislike the state authority used in policing and or military stuff. But I do have to wonder, how do you reconcile the rhetoric of get big government out of our lives with we need more state security, we need a stronger state security apparatus, that sort of stuff. I'm sure there's at least an understandable reason out there somewhere, even if I'm not aware of it. But that's me getting into opinion territory, and this is Facts 5. I deal with facts, baby. And the facts are that, basically, Ronald Reagan did compare JFK, or at least his domestic program, to Karl Marx, and to a lesser extent to Hitler. It does make me think a bit, because you might recall in the Ditto Hit episode, there was that guy who talked about how, JFK was a good Democrat and the Dems aren't like that anymore. But even when the Dems were like that, you had, major influential figures on the right thinking that, this is basically communism. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes you think.
Hello, this is Facts 5 saying thank you for listening, and I sincerely hope that you enjoyed it. If you can, please like and share it around, and if you're feeling especially generous, please subscribe. I need at least 100 subscribers to change my YouTube channel's URL, and my default is long and ugly, and I really don't like it. It would be extremely helpful for me if you subscribed. But you don't have to. I'm not your boss. I'm just Facts 5 and right now, I'm signing off.